Hello everyone. In this lesson, we'll learn how to create a restricted measure in a table. A restricted measure is a measure that is limited by certain dimension criteria. For example, in our case, we want our P&L statement to have two columns, one showing the value for the current period based on our selection, and a second column showing the YTD value. Let's see how to build this P&L statement in the system using restricted measures. Let's go into the system. First, in the columns section, we can add a new calculation. From here, select Restricted Measure. First, let's look at how to implement the YTD amount. For the measure, we will select our amount measure. For the dimension, we want this restricted measure to only show the current period. So, we need to use the date dimension to restrict it. Okay, after selecting the dimension, we need to select the values. The system provides many standard options. For example, you can filter by member, by range, by current period, or even by previous periods. In this case, we will select Create New Input Control. We want the period for this measure to be restricted by the value from the input control on our filter panel. Let's select it. Okay, let's give it a name, like current period. Okay, and here we can select either member or range. We'll select members for this one. Click OK. Click OK again. Alright, now let's rename this column. You can select it here, click Edit, and change the name. Let's call it Current Period Value. Okay, let's see how this looks. If I select a specific month here, for example, January, you can see that the value in this column changes to the value for January. Now let's look at February. The value now changes to reflect February. In other words, the value displayed by this restricted measure is based on the period selected in the filter panel. This is what a restricted measure does. Now, let's add the YTD amount. Again, in the same place, we'll select Add Calculation. Choose Restricted Measure. We can give it a description here, YTD amount. Okay, here we select our measure, which is amount. Then, we select our date dimension. Since we want this column to show the YTD value, the system provides some standard time selections. You can find an option here for current date, and then select year to date. Okay, now in our filters, let's uncheck the original amount column, so we only display our current period and YTD columns. Let's save it. Let's check the final result. If I select all, then both columns show the same value. If I select a specific month, this column shows the current period value, and this column shows the YTD value. This P&L structure is a very common requirement in projects. We can easily achieve this using the restricted measure feature. Okay, that's all for this lesson. If you found this helpful, please subscribe. Thank you.